Episode 64 is a conversation with Salar Shahini, the founder of Sweatpals, a platform for fitness and wellness events, communities, and friends. Salar grew up in Iran and started a successful deep tech company in the US at the age of 23, and then lived in Istanbul for a while and currently lives in Austin while leading this amazing team of Sweatpals. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh god, my battery is running out, so I'll have to change it shortly. But we talked about your background and the fact that you came from Iran, which is a country that's in a very unstable situation right now, and it's very difficult to move out to the West due to the visa difficulties. So how did you get from Iran to the US?
So I came here for grad school originally to Boston. So my brother came here first, 3 years before me. So that kind of made it easier for me research-wise. How can I apply and get here? But so there is for Iran specifically is harder because there's more, like, especially the US is like the toughest place to immigrate. But I knew I want to come here because of, we grew up kind of watching some of the American movies and seeing everything so big, and people who started these amazing companies, they were in the US mostly. And so we had that ambition with me and my brother. He also has a startup, a very successful one. And
so you emigrated together?
He came here first, and then 3 years later I came here and for grad school, and then we kind of just stayed here and continued now it's much more difficult to immigrate because the relationship between the countries are even worse, and the people end up paying the price.
I think all the founders that I've spoken with that were from foreign countries emigrated here through grad school. Mm-hmm. It's like the most common way to emigrate here. I think it's also the only way. Yeah. If you're not employed by Google or Microsoft or any other large company that could sponsor your visa, it's very difficult to get here. So tell me, what's the startup environment like in Iran? Like, is it possible to start a company there? Do you think Sweatpals would be able to operate there? How would it work? What are the restrictions?
Yeah, there's actually the last, I would say 5 years, there was a big movement for startups, because for a moment there, after the Obama administration, there was like better relationships, so people started investing. So actually there was quite a number of startups that started there. There's a company called Snap that they do kind of like Uber.
Yes.
So there are stuff like that, and there's also new ones that started. Now it's very difficult, but I would say 10 years ago there was a movement, 10 to 5 years ago, that there was like one startup after another, because the talent is there. There's so many talented people there, and they come here, start companies. The founder of so many successful companies are Iranian, like Dropbox or a lot of other ones, Tinder, and so the talent is there. It's just now it's back to being hard to start a startup, but the opportunity is there too, because people are very receptive to technology, and they're pretty forward thinking.
So do any Western companies operate in Iran, or is it impossible to access the market?
It's not impossible. I know some started when there was more opening. Mm-hmm. Now, honestly, I don't know. I know it's harder. For American companies, definitely harder. I don't know about European companies too much. I would assume they are still investing, but I'm not too sure about the landscape.
And it's also difficult because Iran can cut off internet connection whenever it wants.
Cut the people. Internet connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you never know whenever your business can, go bankrupt, because Iran decided to control the cable networks.
Yeah, people are very quite resilient though. Like, they found ways, like they use social media, even though some of the social media are banned there. They still organize protests or gatherings through online channels. So they always find ways to get around it.
So are there still protests? Is it still happening?
Still happening. A lot of it are organized within communities, like in neighborhoods. They organize the word spreads, but it's happening, and I think it's going to continue to happen.
That's good. Let's keep putting pressure on the government. So Sweatpals is an app that connects sports clubs or community organizers with sports enthusiasts, people who want to get active and find a community for them. What's the problem that you're solving? How did you identify it? And why are existing platforms not sufficient? There's a lot of community apps like Meetup, Facebook groups, Class Pass, I believe, is a fitness app. So how are you different? What's the problem? Why Austin?
Yeah, great. I love those questions. So for the problem, the main thing is that it's just thinking about a new way, just taking a step back. Right now, if I ask you, let's go out and do something fun.
Yeah.
First thing you're going to think about is probably which bar or which restaurant or which nightclub but
I'm going to say it's too hot to go out. Let's stay inside.
Yes, or at night, maybe at night. So it's usually that's the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
So what were you saying?
Continue? Yeah.
Yes.
So I was saying if right now, if we think about let's go out, let's do something fun, usually we think about going to a bar or a nightclub, but we can also go for a run, or we can go to a yoga community, or we can go do acro yoga and grab something to eat. So there is this whole other aspect of having fun or meeting people or getting active, getting fit, that doesn't need to be drinking, or getting fit doesn't need to be so lonely that I just go to the gym and I just lift and in the hope that, so it can be it is much more social, and it should be much more social. So Sweatpals, the idea is to be a platform, and it's happening every day around us. You see run clubs all the time, you see people cycling together, some sports you're stuck. I know so many friends who gave up rock climbing because they didn't have a play partner anymore, because they moved to a new city. But it doesn't need to be that. Or someone who likes tennis, but they haven't played in years because they don't have a reliable partner. But it shouldn't be that way. There should be a platform that serves us in the same way that we have, let's say, LinkedIn for the corporate world, or we have Nextdoor for neighborhoods. There should be a platform that serves us in that aspect of our lives. And and it's such a big aspect of us. Everyone has a fitness goal. Everyone has a fitness kind of a idea they're working towards, everyone. And some people are more serious, some people less, but everyone has that. So there needs to be a platform that serves us in this way. And that was the concept behind Sweatpals. Now, in terms of community apps, so it connects you to all the clubs and communities around us. A lot of them driven by people that they don't. For instance, you mentioned ClassPass is very studio driven. We also have studios,
and ClassPass is less about community and more about just booking classes in an easy way.
Yeah, exactly. Or in the example of Meetup, it has everything. So we have a very focus on fitness. It also can't do things that we want in the fitness. In the fitness world, you need to have liability waivers. You need to be able to have a group chat in there. There's some specific things that you need that function-wise they can't do. And also it's not where people gravitate towards when they think about fitness.
You can track your progress.
You can track your
progress.
You
can pay even through Sweatpals?
Yes, you can pay. So on one side is like e-commerce, where it's like you can pay, you can set up promo codes, you can do. So the onboarding of instructors is kind of like our studios. It's very e-commerce. That you have all the tools to do that. You can set up pop-up events, you can set up classes, you can set up your group chat liability. On the other side is very social. So we have people like me going there, looking for a pickleball group, looking for a yoga class, looking for volleyball groups, and sometimes just looking to do something on the weekend and then finding a group of people to do it with. So sometimes, or posting, people love posting those gym selfies.
Yeah.
That is very frowned upon.
Yes.
So that's where we welcome that. So we say, yes, keep them in, bring them in. And it's just a space that people can kind of showcase that side of themselves. And also it's a very fun way to have a fitness routine when you are with people. There are so many studies you work out twice as hard when you work out with someone. There's more dopamine. There's 3 times more dopamine. So there's all this different stuff that comes with it. It's just a fun way to have a fitness routine also.
If I'm an instructor, and I want to set up a community around yoga. Do you help me find a studio, find a venue to do that, and organize relationship with the venue? Or do I have to be connected to an actual yoga studio and then sort of host classes from there?
So we do both. We have instructors that are very experienced. They're just looking for exposure because they need people to come and monetize their passion. So we help them. Or some people are also what you just said, that they're just getting started. So we help them with venues. We help them with relationship building, setting up their community. Like it's like starting a business. It's very hard. You have 100 questions, but we will help answer all of them so that the person can focus on the experience instead of focusing on all these admin duties. So they can, and in terms of venue, we have lots of partnerships in Austin and now in Miami too.
Wow.
And so we can help pretty much any, I guess not any, like if there's some, maybe like disc golf, for instance, we don't have disc golf yet. But I would say most sports or fitness passions we have helped and can help people get started. Yeah.
So if there's a community, is it free? Do I pay like a monthly subscription to be a member of the community? Do I pay per class? How does the monetization work?
It depends on the host. So if the host wants to charge, then they can charge. They have the tools to do that. Or if they want to charge a subscription to their members, members can subscribe. Or we have also a lot of free events. Usually it depends. If someone is just starting out, we recommend doing few free events just to put the word out, and then them also getting practice.
Yeah.
And then they start monetizing once they have regulars. But it really depends on the host. We make our recommendation. They can do whatever they want.
Let's say I want to become a host and I want to have a running community. Would Sweatpals be a good way for me to make money? Would you suggest that I quit my job and make money through that, or how would I go about it?
Yeah, I think at the beginning might be hard to just jump into it and quit your job. So I think it's something like depending how serious you're about it. If you want to just meet once a week, it's probably not enough.
Build a reputation.
Yeah, but we can definitely help with that. So we can definitely help make sure you have the people, your message is out to the right people. You get the location, all of that, figured out, and you have your community, all the admin stuff, how to make payment, what kind of price you set. We help with all of that. And then the rest is really also depending on the person. If we have like running coaches that are doing really well because they do the running club, but they also train people one-on-one afterwards.
Oh, really? So Sweatpals is not just for large events like community, but one-on-one gym sessions, one-on-one yoga, tennis.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do that, to have a community, and then from your members, you get the additional training. Like we had this very experienced calisthenics trainer. So he's awesome. He's like but he wasn't monetizing before, and he on Instagram he gets like millions of views.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So now that he started his calisthenics community on Sweatpals, now he's getting one-on-one sessions too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to discover new customers.
It's a great way to discover. Exposure. Yeah. And also each session, if your goal is to make money, we have two types of users. One is people their goal is to make money. So that's kind of a different path than someone who just wants to have their pickleball community and then just want to play twice a week and make sure they have enough people, make sure they have the venue reserved and all of that. So that's a different kind of a person. So for that persona of someone wanting to make money, then that's the strategy. Usually doing maybe one to two paid community events, and then the rest maybe work individually with people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So in terms of making money, you have for yourself, it's a B2B. You charge communities or the hosts a commission per sale.
Yeah, so it's so we have two ways of monetizing, and then later we are going to introduce a third one, but that's a longer play. So the first one is what you just said, the communities. So they wouldn't pay anything unless they are making money, and they still wouldn't pay. Each ticket sale, the members would pay $1, $2 extra, so they would still capture the whole ticket price, so there is no friction on the seller side. And the second way is our brands. So that's even more important. So we have, for instance, different brands we've worked with. We have Lululemon, we worked with Brex, we worked with all these different brands that want this audience. So we work with them, but we work with them in a way that's not intrusive to the product. We get them visibility to those audience in a non-intrusive way.
How do you do that?
So it's either activation at the events where they can be there, set up a table, enhance the event experience, community experience, or they can kind of in our email, we have like a large email list, or in the product, just like a little shout out, nothing too intrusive. Yeah.
So if I'm Lululemon, I could become a member of one of your communities, like yoga, for example, is a good one. And then in an email newsletter, I could sort of promote my products through that. Or if there's an event like, I don't know, a marathon, Austin Marathon, I could have a stand there.
Yeah.
But why do I need to work with you? Why can't I just have a stand at an event?
So we streamline those relationships, and most of that goes to the club anyway.
Yeah.
But we are kind of the hub, because you also don't want to be as a brand just in front of, just do the same one every time. You kind of want that, like this month I'm in front of these running clubs, the next month I'm in front of these soccer groups, the next month. So you kind of hit the most and you maximize. And then you also can, as a brand, there are other stuff that are important to them, like how much digital traffic they get. So it's not just at the event. And that's something that we can guarantee with the amount of digital reach we have.
And you also have large social media presence,
social
right? So
media,
you can
yeah.
post on Instagram.
Exactly.
And Twitter or Facebook.
Yeah.
Lululemon is a large company. How do you approach them? Who do you speak with? How do you set up a partnership?
Yeah. So Lululemon, when we worked with them on something, they reached out to us. I think for the bigger ones, usually it's usually inbound, because the local ones are much faster. They move much faster. They're like us, because we don't need to go through like 5 people.
Yes.
So that's why we if we want to do outreach, we focus more on more local, more businesses that also align with our mission, and then we can both make sure we help each other out. But the bigger ones have been so far mostly inbound.
Which means they reach out to you.
Yeah.
How did they find out about you?
Usually, I mean, if they are in Austin, if they have an event, they definitely would know about us. If they do any kind of a fitness experience, or if they are in any way involved, they would definitely know about Sweatpals.
And then how does the conversation work? You connect with, head of partnerships or partnerships lead. How does the negotiation work? What are the requirements that they would want from you?
Yeah, so it's different for each brand. So that's why we first figure that out with them. So we don't just go out of the gate and say, and then based on what for instance, some people, it's very simple. They just want Instagram followers. So that's a different kind of partnership than a brand that is looking for sales. And then there is a brand that's looking for traffic to their store, because the stores have much less traffic now post-pandemic. And fitness is such a great way to bring people to the store and then offer them discount, and people after the workout they can check out the products. So each of them are different, and some brands, they just want to be in front of people, so they just want to give out products and sample, and that's something that we wouldn't necessarily charge for. They just give out products and then we distribute it to the communities. So it's different based on brands. So we definitely do a discovery first, and then we kind of curate based on that. We don't work with also a lot of brands. We don't want to do that too much. Yeah. We do maybe maximum 5 a month, and then we can really spend the time to curate the experience.
And do they pay a monthly subscription, or not subscription, but like a monthly charge? Or do you charge per sale? Let's say if they sell a product through you, you charge a commission on that.
So we haven't done any affiliate programming yet. We have been asked to, but so far it's been mostly per month. Like we charge per month.
And that's a fixed fee.
That's a fixed. It's a fixed fee with some knowing that there could be some difference if something like they want to increase the partnership or they go the other way. We are flexible with that, because we are so early in our journey. We don't want to be too rigid with things, because we are also learning. Yeah. We are also learning. We only started, like Sweatpals, the app has been out only since last October, so it's very new. So we are also learning. So we don't lock them into, and they know that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do they require you to, for example, have certain number of people on the app so that, like, do you report these engagement statistics to them? Is it important?
Yeah, it's definitely important. It's very important for them to know what's the age of the people, what's the gender, what's the what kind of people we work with, and then it helps us too, because if we are talking to a brand that targets their product is useful to, let's say, not to millennials or Gen Z, which is our audience, then we also know we are not going to add value, so we wouldn't continue.
Yeah.
So those are very important. Also, what kind of sports we have and what kind of activities we have. Like if we have a climbing shoe brand, so they definitely want to see how many climbers we have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So who are your members mainly? How would you?
It's mainly it's about the quarter runners. We have a lot of runners, running clubs.
Yes.
And we have another quarter. So Pickleball is the fastest growing one. Yeah, we have about
as expected.
Yeah, 20% there, and then we have yoga is another big one. So top three, I would say it's running, yoga, and then pickup games.
Why is pickleball so popular? I'm still trying to figure it out. I found out about the sport like very recently, and I used to play tennis.
Have you played pickleball?
I've never played pickleball.
So once
I'm planning
you play,
to.
You will know it's very addicting, and it's very.
Everyone says that. Why?
Yeah. So you hit the ball most out of pretty much like definitely more than tennis in an hour.
Because it's a smaller court.
Smaller court.
And it's not a racket, it's a paddle.
It's a paddle.
It's more like ping pong.
A lot like ping pong. So imagine if you hit the ball the same amount of time as ping pong and tennis. It would be so much, and it's smaller, so you don't need to run as much. It's great cardio, but it doesn't.
So there's a lower barrier to entry. Anyone, you don't
lower.
have to be super in shape to play pickleball.
Yeah.
And it's easy to learn. You don't have to spend hours and hours.
Yeah, very easy to learn. It's the fastest growing sport in the US right now, and yeah, it's just, and people just get obsessed with it. It's amazing. The community is great, and also it's very low barrier to set up, like the court itself. You just need a net. You can set up the net yourself in any parking lot. It's like a badminton court. It's the same size.
So is it on concrete?
It can be concrete. Yeah, it can be concrete. So it's exactly like badminton, playing badminton. It's the same size, very small, and very easy to pick up. Very easy to pick up. Yeah.
That's so
You should
cool.
try it.
And is it singles or doubles?
So
Mostly.
I think it's doubles.
Doubles.
Officially, but I've definitely played singles. So I'm not sure about if what's the official one, but the official games I've seen are all doubles. Yeah.
And is it mixed teams, like females, males? Is there a big difference whether I play with a male or a female?
Yeah.
In terms
That's
of
a very
strength?
good question. I think I never played a gender only. Any game I've been to or we've had on the app is all both genders. And also there are like leagues and tournaments that I've seen. They're all both genders.
Nice.
So I don't think it's so it's very inclusive for sure. And I think you can be amazing. It doesn't matter from what I've seen. It's with gender you are.
That's amazing. I like it. So low barrier to entry, very easy to learn. Anyone can do it. All genders. Very easy to set up. Very cheap.
Very cheap. With $200 you can have a net. You can have the
Paddle
paddles
and
the ball.
balls.
Yeah.
Very cool. I have to try it.
Yeah, definitely try it.
So you also have a creator program that I saw on your website. How does it work? Like what requirements do I have to fulfill to be a creator?
So that's one of the favorite parts about Sweatpals for me is if you have a full-time job or something else, but you want to on the side. We also had people who started as a full-time, but on the side you want to have a side hustle, or you want to create your own community. So that's where we work with you. We help you get started with a dozen other people. So it's kind of like an accelerator in a way, or we work with all of you together. It's like a 3-week program, and then you graduate together, and then you help each other out too. So someone in your cohort might be starting a pickleball community, someone might be starting a soccer community, so we all work together every week. Every week you say what was your progress until you get to the first game that you set up. You're all set. You have all the pieces, you have the people to show up, and because the first game is the hardest to get enough people out there, and then what are the elements, how do I set it up, how, if it's a paid event, how do I charge. So all those things in 3 weeks you will be, if you are accountable, you'll definitely get there.
So creator is not like content creator, it's a community organizer.
Yeah, community.
If I want to start hosting events, you have a 3-week program where you help me do that.
Exactly. And then you become part of our ambassadors, and then you have a lot of new friends that you can pretty much anytime you have, you can go to each other's games. You can, if you need help with anything, or just, it's a great way to build friends too. One of our ambassadors.
What is an ambassador?
So ambassador is someone who starts with us to become a community organizer. So once you graduate kind of from this program and you host games consistently, then you are an ambassador. And you have perks too, like we give out products, free products. We have, if you reach a certain goal, you get a little stipend. So it's a very fun way to also have a side passion, because some people don't want to make money, or side hustle, depending how you want to look at it.
So do you pay the creators even if they don't charge for events? Let's say at the beginning, to incentivize people to get it started?
Depends on the creator and the sport. Like for instance, soccer it needs a lot of time. So you need to figure out the venue. Unless you have 10 people, it's not going to be a good experience.
Yes.
So it's a lot of hustling at the beginning on the part of the creator. So for them, we have more incentives. But for instance, walking, if you want to get a bunch of people together to walk, which is great too, it's easier. So you just need to find a place, and then we help you with the route. So that one needs probably a little less time. So it really depends on that. Yeah. And then we incentivize, if you have, let's say, 1,000 people in your group, after like 2 months, then that's someone we definitely engage even to work with us on a more regular basis.
What's the average size of a community?
I would say we have anywhere from 20. So unless it's 20, we don't say it's a community. So anywhere from 20, we have like 1,500 people communities.
And obviously larger communities then split into sub-communities. So if you have a larger running community, obviously people have different pace and are in different shapes. Do you split that up?
Some of them do, some of them don't. We have one, for instance, because once you create an event on the app, it also creates a different group for you. So that event can become its own kind of subgroup. We haven't seen too many of them breaking down into more groups. Usually it's one giant group, and then if people have another group, they have created a new channel, sort of, or a new group. Why have you chosen Austin for this? Why is Austin a good sports hub? Austin is amazing. I think it's if I thought of Sweatpals as a person, I think it would be Austin. It's so first of all, it's very inclusive in terms of I would say profession of people. You have people of different professions, and then it's very inclusive. It's very diverse in that sense. So it's very receptive to new things. Like I see a lot of new technologies, new startups here. And it's very it's very, I think, genuine. People are usually themselves. So I think those are all great stuff. Like especially at the beginning, you need people's help to use the product, even though it has bugs. Give you feedback. Don't care that you have an accent, all this kind of stuff. And I think Austin is great. They checked all the boxes. The reason we started was kind of luck, because I moved here 2 years ago from Boston, and when we transitioned to remote work in my previous company, and in Austin, I just couldn't stop thinking about there's all these people doing cycling or running. Where do I find them? I mean, I see them all the time, and then there's no platform for it. And that was luck, but I think it was a great luck. I wouldn't change it for.
And why did you choose Austin? It was in COVID.
To move here, because I visited several times, and I loved the city. I loved how active it is, how young it is. I feel like it's always something happening. And also my brother, he moved here too. So that made it much easier.
Family situation. I love it. I feel like Austin is the city of introverts, like weird people. And it's a city of remote workers. A lot of people who work for large tech companies live here because of the quality of life, right? San Francisco is terrible, LA is terrible, so they move here. Or Denver. I think Denver is also popular, sort of a sports hub.
Yeah, I think I love you kind of get all the good stuff from different sides. So I think it's very socially, very open, very inclusive, and then fiscally, it's also very good because for businesses to start, you get the Texas kind of fiscal. There's not much regulations for a business to get off the ground.
Yeah.
So you get kind of the great things from both sides.
Who would you say is your biggest competitor here in Austin?
In Austin, I would say probably Meetup is what people use, but I feel like
Meetup is like a super old app. I think it was founded in the early 2000s. Before Facebook even.
Yeah, and no, I think I respect Meetup. I think especially the name, I really like what they did there because people kind of say, let's go have a meetup here or something.
Yes.
So I think that's great. But there are a lot of learnings there. Their technology is very old, so that's the good thing going against like a big company like that. But it's kind of also a gold mine for us because there are so many communities there, and we have transitioned a lot of communities from Meetup because we have very clear reasons why. From the app itself, we can explain to them why it's better, cleaner, you get the right audience, all of that additional functions we built for fitness and wellness. And then on the other side, people went there because that's the only one they knew. So they're kind of almost getting us the leads that we need. So,
that's amazing. So you join a meetup community, convince the people to join Sweatpals, and
we show up there sometimes, or we message them. If it's a bigger one, we usually show up there, or one of us show up there. Yeah, then we talk to the leader.
Is Meetup aware of this?
I don't think so.
Have they fought you in any way?
No, I think we are probably. I think they will notice us maybe after we take maybe 10 cities or something like that. But we are also only focused on fitness. There's so much going on Meetup and the other stuff.
True.
So I don't think they will know it because we are also. I'm sure it happens all the time with other platforms too.
Yeah.
We had Facebook groups too who transitioned to Sweatpals. What else did we have? We had, interestingly, Instagram. A lot of people use Instagram for
groups.
For groups, which is very interesting because it's not built for that.
Yeah.
But I think the main reason we win is because of the in-person kind of focus, hyper-local focus. Like here we are present in Miami. We just hired someone to be kind of the GM in Miami. So we're gonna keep that hyper focus because in this age, no one can compete with someone, let's say like Instagram, with that level of resources for tech, for digital.
Yeah.
But in person, we can definitely compete.
That's a good point. How do you market it to people apart from using existing community platforms? Sort of stealing them.
Yeah, we have definitely Instagram is great.
Yeah.
So we have two sites. One is these creator sites. The other one are the consumers. Yeah. So on the communities or creators, so Meetup is good, but Instagram, a lot of kind of outreach to individuals that we see they are doing great. Then we kind of have a call with them, and so very B2B method. And on the consumers is a lot of content marketing. So we have Instagram, very successful strategy there. We have a lot of followers in Austin. We now are getting a lot of traction in Miami through that. And the shareability is great because we promote these groups and we make them look like heroes. So they really like us.
Yeah. How do you sell this to communities? Why would they switch to you, and why is it beneficial for them to use Sweatpals?
Yeah, because right now a lot of times they have to use multiple platforms. Like they have usually a WhatsApp or a Telegram group for group chats.
Yeah.
Then they have someplace else to organize their events. Sometimes it's Instagram, sometimes Facebook groups to just have the event somewhere. And they also have something else, usually a Google form for liability waivers, the one that needed. And then they have usually an email list too. So they have, depending on how serious they are about it, they have anywhere from 2 to 4 platforms. So we say you can do all of it with one platform, and we also give you support. Like it's almost like having a staff on your team from us. Because anytime they say, I don't have time, can you set this up for me? Or sometimes the event, there's like a issue gets canceled, so they cancel on the app and everyone gets the notification. So there are stuff like that just saves a lot of time from them.
One huge advantage of startups is what you said, the responsiveness, the customer support. Large companies oftentimes ignore customers that are less important, right? They just focus on the high profit, large companies. And so it's a good way to get your business going.
It's a great way. I think like Instagram, try to get them on the phone or something. I mean, it's impossible. We had a problem with one of the ads. We were trying to give them money to promote. I mean, it kept failing and we couldn't get anyone on customer support. But for us, it's almost immediate. One of us would answer. And that's what we talk about all the time in our team too. Anytime someone interacts with us, with Sweatpals team, they should leave that interaction feeling much better. Because that's
you solve their problem.
Yeah, that's the way we should win. Even if we can't solve it now, the way we answer, it should be very refreshing.
What are some of the failures that your communities, your creators have?
Failures in sense of
like you said, customer support. What do they call you about? What needs to be resolved?
Yeah, so there are things. So one part of it is function. When as we get more and more mature, we solve that and we keep solving it. I think at this point we are to a point where it's finally stable. I think we check the boxes they need. But for instance, we had issues about setting up a limit for their classes. So we had an event. They set up like a 70% limit. It was a golf event. We went hot girl golf, and she sold 100 tickets. But she had set up the limit to 70, so that was a product problem. But at the same time, good problem to have, I think, for her.
Oh yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Plus, not everyone shows up. Generally, like 50% of people show up. That's sign up.
But this was a high ticketed event, so this one people would have showed up. And she had coordinated with the venue that she's gonna bring. So that was a thing. But thankfully, that was okay. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is questions about how do they set this up, set that up. I think that's one part we are trying to get better at, is being more clear, because on our Instagram you see all these different things, but it's not super clear that there is a platform that is there's a phone, there's an app. You might think it's an Instagram account or a website, and then people are like, how do I get my stuff up here? And we say it's an app. You download the app. So those are a lot of questions we get. And the more and more we get also UX questions, then we say, okay, so we need to make this better. Or some people ask, how do I create a community? And we say there's a plus button there, you have to. So there are stuff, but the more we get those questions, that means we need to get better at the UX. Yeah.
Well, I checked your website and it seemed pretty straightforward.
Awesome.
There's like 3 or 4 interfaces. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Awesome. So the other thing is Instagram, because a lot of people find us from Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think our Instagram needs to be more clear on what we can do for them.
Well, you only have so much space in the bio, right? Yeah. So what do you say? And
I think using the highlights. We should use the highlights. So we are working on having a FAQ or something like that, the highlights.
Good point.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your largest challenges so far, from the point you had the idea to now?
Yeah, I think the biggest one at the beginning was how to start this, because we had.
And were you alone, or did you have a co-founder?
So my co-founder. So I had this idea. I was still at my previous company. I was CTO at my previous company, and I had this idea. And my co-founder, I had interviewed for my previous company because I was looking for a product designer, and then she didn't take the job, but I kept her contacts, and because she had a very impressive portfolio. So when I had this idea, I needed someone to kind of bounce ideas off of. So she helped me as a consultant, and after a few months she became so passionate, we said, let's just do this full time. And this time I said, my new offer for you is no salary, but let's be a co-founders. And she said, okay. So she took it. She came to Austin. She was in Montreal at the time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and she always says, I left everything behind except my dog. She has a dog she brought here. That's kind of our mascot now. Say Schnauzer. It's awesome. And anyway, so that was the main part, was how to. We knew there is a problem in this space. Like when at the beginning I told you the big vision, we knew there is something there, but how do you start, lay the first brick? Because there is no reason for people to use it unless there are other people there.
Yes.
It's a cold start problem. So that's very difficult to solve. And I think we were lucky in Austin that people were willing to work with us. I remember there's this group, Wim Hof group. They meet on Fridays every morning. They are now on Sweatpals, and they do the breath work. They jump in ice bath every Friday.
God. Yeah. The cold plunge.
Yeah, cold plunge. And Ellie, she was great. She was one of the first, but she used it even though we still weren't sure what should be the right product. So just getting lucky with people like that really helped us get started. And then after having several communities on, then it starts, the word of mouth and the other stuff starts kicking in, then the network effect starts kicking in, so it becomes bigger. But for us, the hard part now is we have to solve that problem every time we are in a new city. So it's a very hard business to build. Because in Austin now, thank God, it's very organic. But now in Miami, we are solving the cold start problem again. So now it's finally getting to a point in Miami that I think is getting organic. Then we have to go to Denver, again, solve the cold start problem. And each city has its own DNA. So something that worked here, it worked for the most part in Miami too, but I don't think it's going to work in LA, for instance.
When you started in March of last year, I believe, that's when you started Antler.
Company. Yeah.
You did not have an app until October.
No.
So how did Sweatpals work?
So we had a website. So at the very, very beginning,
But the website was just a sign-up
waitlist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a waitlist. We had a beta version of the app. There was like no sign-up.
Yeah.
You had to get it from TestFlight and from the installation file if you have Android. So very difficult to get. But we did get 1,000 people on it.
Wow.
But it was I still don't believe people used it.
So you launched it with a TestFlight app.
With a TestFlight
and you had 1,000 people on
it.
it.
And it was I'm still very grateful people used it because it has so many bugs. When I look at the design now, it's, you almost want to throw up. It's very bad. But that was tough because sometimes it didn't work and people had to. But that's also, I think, a good decision we make not to launch, like broadcast launch everywhere until we get through those testing phases. Yeah.
That's amazing. So in the early stages, would you recommend that people hire a developer to build the app? Would you outsource it to an agency? How would you go about that? I
think at the beginning, the founders should build it, especially like we had at the beginning wireframes. So that was the first product where we would show to people, would get feedback, would show to 50 people. I think we did at least 500 interviews, an hour-long interviews. And every time we had a new version, we did 50 more. And
so the first thing you did was find communities.
Yeah.
And find people. And then interview them, show them the wireframes.
Yeah, exactly. Because we built the product number one for me and for my co-founder afterwards. So we had an idea and then we had to validate it and then keep coming back. And then in terms of building the product, I think unless you are absolutely sure of what you're building, I think it's very dangerous almost to invest in outsourcing or things like that, or unless you have a team that you already worked with. There are a lot of no-code platforms you can use, like Bubble for website. There is another one I forget for the app. I think Bubble does app too. So you can kind of get started with that, and after you're sure it's the right product, then you can invest in either a dev team or hopefully you have a CTO that can build it.
How is Sweatpals different now from the first version?
It's very different. The first version we had, it was a lot of stuff was about content.
Yeah.
And now it's so much more about the events and
organizing.
The communities, organizing and meeting people. So it's less about me posting my progress, which people do still, but the main focus of the app is on solving meeting in person problem and building community problem.
How did you figure out like this is the right time to start building an app? How much validation did you have at that point?
So one validation was there were one thing that was a good time was it was post-pandemic. People were more introverted than ever, so they were looking for something.
They had to get used to social interactions again.
Yeah, exactly. And then also in terms of Austin itself, we had so many people that were new to Austin. So everyone was looking for somehow to meet people. And then you see on Facebook groups, they have like 20,000 members, people post, but 5 people respond and no one meets. So that's also something we didn't want to become. We wanted to be some process in place.
You want people to keep meeting regularly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and be genuine about it, and be about this thing, and be because, like, for instance, when you go to an event, you will get a notification in the app. How was it? So you write about it, and then it's people can comment on it. So there is some also review process afterwards. So if you're a host and you host something, you don't show up, for instance.
Yeah.
Then that's when we get involved and we contact them. We help them if there was a problem, or if there wasn't a problem, then we monitor that closely to make sure people have a good experience.
So at what point did you hire the first person? Was it a developer to build the app?
I think it was in the summer. So this was a development team I worked with before. So my developers from...
Okay.
I worked with them before, so I knew them. So that was...
So you stole them from your previous company?
Didn't steal them. But no, we worked with them, and then I had... Let's see, so we had an intern.
Mm-hmm.
And she is Priscilla. She's still...
I remember social media intern.
Social media, yeah. So now she's full-time. She's now our marketing coordinator. So she was, I would say, the first hire. We hired 2 interns, and she was one of them. Very passionate. She's only 19, but she created, like, I remember for a test, we gave her a TikTok to create. And we said, these are the 3 TikToks you can create. Just create one of them, because it's going to take time. She created all of them very fast. Wow. And then me and Mandy, my co-founder, we had created one, and it took us the whole day. It wasn't even good. Yeah. And we never showed that to her, because we wanted to... At the beginning, we thought she's going to make something and we show her this is how it's done. But then what she made in like 2 seconds was much better.
Exceeded expectations.
So she was the first one, because we needed help with social media. We didn't have time.
I think social media creation is so underestimated. Especially TikTok. You have to be really good at editing, and you have to know what gets people's attention and how the algorithm works.
Yeah. And you have to almost also not over edit, because if it looks now, it's different than 5 years ago. 5 years ago, things that were super high quality would get more views. Now it's things that are more casual. So it's like finding that right balance, and then at the same time looking good for your branding. So that's it. That's the interesting part. Yeah.
I started TikTok recently for the Commencement party that I work with, and I still haven't figured it out. I do these 1-2 minute videos where I pick a topic and I just talk about it. And we haven't gotten past 300 views yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have to do something else.
So we haven't had success on TikTok too. Because TikTok, you have to post every day, almost 2 or 3 times.
And you have to use their music. I've figured out that using the popular songs, which means you can't speak. Right, you can input text, but you can't say anything. So.
Yeah, you can lower the volume of their music though, and then speak over.
Really?
It. Yeah.
Okay, I have to figure that out.
But you're right. You have to edit in their app. So there's a lot of... We didn't have success, so we shifted our focus to Instagram, but we use TikTok in other ways. We have a lot of people that are supporters of Sweatpals, and they post about it, or we ask them to post about it. So we do it, instead of growing our own accounts, now we are focused on other ones. Yeah.
So how do you grow Instagram? What do you post on it? How do you get attention?
So we post a lot of our own communities, and we feature them. So once they get to a certain point, once they're popular, we post about them. So that's also one of the incentives, that they get featured. We also post about the app content, so people get familiar that you can post your pictures on the app. And then we also post about the city itself. So we post about Austin. Where can you run in Austin? Where can you run in Miami? Where can you play pickleball in Miami? So those are stuff that, even if you're traveling, would be very interesting to see. So we definitely try to add value to whoever's viewing the content. We post almost every day.
That's amazing. And you have one person who does all of social media?
So we have 2 people now.
2 people now.
We have our marketing coordinator that I mentioned, Priscilla, and we have Ali, who's our marketing intern.
So they go to events, take pictures?
Not necessarily. We also do that, but now it's a lot of UGC. So people who our communities, they already
they create content, they send it to you, and
Yeah.
then you process it in a way
Yeah,
for
exactly.
social platforms.
Yeah.
Do you do day in the life?
We did that once.
Is it day?
Or come
Day in
with
the life
me.
of someone.
Yeah, or come with me to something.
Come with me to something.
We did those few times. We should do them more. But yeah, like come with me to this fitness experience, or
Yeah.
come with me to meet someone.
I think people always want to see the behind the scenes stuff, right? They want to get the inside look, like the
Yeah.
insider information that you can't see anywhere else.
Of the
So,
company or of the event?
I think of the company, the event, of the people within the company. A lot of the times, if like, who is your face of Sweatpals? Is it you? Is it your co-founder? Because people want to have a relationship with you,
Yeah.
or feel like they have a relationship with you.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree. I think we should get better at that. We
So you
put-
should post about your struggles and how you wake up in the morning and you're super tired. You
Yeah.
make your breakfast
Yeah.
and go for a run. And
Yeah, we should do that. It's very difficult. I mean, it doesn't come natural to me.
yes,
So for me, it's gonna be hard to learn it.
yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, I can. I need to. Don't want to make an excuse. But or Mandy, I think for her is probably easier. But
Yeah.
we've done that few times where we posted like. So Priscilla, she asked us all to do this dance, and then and then that was a very good video because a lot of people. So that's good for our existing users because a lot of them commented. They say, "Oh, it's so cool! Like
This is fun.
looks like a cool company." Or one other time, she just filmed me during a festival. We're at a fitness festival,
yeah.
and then there was like some dance event. I participated.
Mhm.
She kind of posted like something like our fan or something like that, and then it was like a funny post
Yeah.
because I'm not the best dancer, so it looked very funny.
Yes.
So those stuff actually is very good.
Yeah.
So we need to do more of that. I agree because
Yes.
it also makes us more human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one thing with social media. You have to look human and real.
Yeah.
People don't want the superficial, artificial pictures on
Exactly.
Instagram anymore.
Yeah.
I'm planning a campaign in California that starts 1st of August until
Awesome.
end of September. And I'll be driving around California. It's called Drive Forward with Common Sense. And I'll be just showing up to events, festivals, concerts. I'll be speaking with community leaders, different types of people about their issues with the governance system there. And I'm like, well, how do I transport this into social media? Like, how do I do it so that we get enough attention
Yeah.
to get to our goal of 73,000 signatures? And I'm like, well, I guess I have to make it really personal.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think the way for it to work is people have to feel like they're with me on this journey. And I have to take a video of every part of my life from the morning when I wake up to, driving somewhere, event, this and that, and just document all day so
Yeah.
that people feel like they're part of this journey. And they feel like they have an insider look into it. So that's my plan, but we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes.
I would watch that. I think that's very interesting.
Follow us.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
And also even doing for TikTok, what I've learned is they say it's better to post more and less. So if you want to invest time in editing, instead just post more because it's the algorithm you never know. Like all of a sudden one of them goes viral, but for Instagram is a little like editing is better.
I spend so much time writing my script for TikTok so that it's exactly 1 minute.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't go viral. And then my sister posts like a sexy video of herself with some popular song and it goes viral immediately
Yeah.
with no effort. I'm a bit jealous.
Yeah.
So that's social media. Okay. So fundraising. What series are you at? You raised from Antler, which is a startup incubator. Have you done your seed round yet? If not, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. So we've done, I'll say, a pre-seed round. We've raised about close to. So after Antler, we raised from a syndicate. Then we won a competition, a startup competition. That was among 500 startups.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So
Oh yes, I know 500
yeah.
startups. They're based in SF, I believe.
Yes, but it wasn't that one. So this was what's called Barn Burner, was by Sweater, but there were 500 startups participating.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was good. So overall, we raised that round, the pre-seed round, and now in about 2-3 months, we're gonna raise our price round, and that's gonna be. We just want to have a little more traction, because the sooner we raise, also the less we're gonna. It's just gonna take longer until you. So we want to be on very solid grounds because we can't even raise today, but I think we need to make a little more progress. So then it's gonna be also higher valuation, and it's gonna be on like tier 1 VCs, like better VCs once we get there. So we plan to do that in about 2 to 3 months. We have some metrics, so once we hit them, we are out in the market.
Are you working on it now? Are you building relationships with investors? How does Antler support you in this? What's the sort of main benefit of having gone through this incubator?
Yeah, so in terms of relationships, I feel like the mindset should be always fundraising without even fundraising, so building the relationship. I personally need to do that more, because it's just we have a lot of people, like attraction, so we get busy a lot of times, but just allocating like maybe once a week to just building that relationship. In terms of Antler, they're very good. We love working with them. They help if there is a mutual connection to an investor. They definitely make an intro. I think most of the work is by the founder, and as it should be, but they help in terms of like figuring out the pitch, how to do the storytelling. They have a very experienced storytelling coach, Robbie, who's very good. So he helps you kind of tell the right story. They help you with the pitch. They help you with the deck. They help you with the intros too. The thing with, I feel like accelerators is because they have a lot of companies going through them, so the intro might not be. It depends on, might not be exclusive, yeah. But we work with our deal lead. She's great. So she's Prerna. She's awesome. So she definitely talks to investors about us, where they reach out to us, and we've seen that. So that's very good. You said the main benefit of going through that?
Yes.
Yeah. I think main benefit is validating the idea, because we were super early. We didn't have a product yet. And having someone to question you, I think that was very valuable. And the network is great too. The network is really great.
Yeah. With other founders.
Yeah. I think they still are the cohorts we went through together. They are still the best people we bounce ideas off of during fundraising.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What's your KPI? How do you measure your progress? And do you have, as you said, you're going to raise seed round in 3 months. What's your goal? What do you want to get to in those 3 months to be able to raise a good seed round?
Yeah, so for us, it's number of people getting to events and communities. So people forming communities, or communities that are formed, and also number of RSVPs. Those are the most important things, because we want to get people to these experiences. So if we get if you're successful at doing that, if those numbers are the hockey stick,
you want to have a high conversion rate,
and retention is very important. And then that's one, and the other side is each market. So right now we have 2 markets, Austin and Miami. So we need to make sure numbers are powerful in both markets. In Austin, it's definitely very strong. In Miami, is finally getting to that point. And we just launched there last month. I say finally, but it's because we don't have patience. But it's so those, to make sure in both markets the numbers are very strong. And I think then we have a very good chance of raising money. Because raising money can take long, and I just want to make sure we have such good metrics that instead of spending 4 months fundraising, we are spending like 2 months or 1 month fundraising. Yeah.
What's your weekly growth rate? I know Paul Graham from Y Combinator generally said 10% is like a good weekly growth rate.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I think ours is, let's see, because we have different rates. If you just
growth rate of users and then communities.
So for communities, for users, it's definitely, let's see, I know the number. I need to calculate what's the percentage. I think it's about 10%.
Yeah.
I think it's about 10%. Maybe, I would say maybe some weeks is like 8%. Sometimes it's more. On average, maybe 8-9%. For communities, it's about 5 a week. So
That's really good.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
So that's good. Some of them activate on their own. On average, we get about 2 that we onboard, like new ones. But yeah, I would say 5. But we
And then you have
like,
to make sure that the communities don't die out.
yeah,
right?
so retention is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we just added Taylor. So she's very, very good. She's our community growth manager.
Mm-hmm.
So her role is to just work with communities onboarding and also kind of like customer success.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure the retention is there, they don't have questions. Yeah, she's very on top of it. Because before it used to be I would do it or Mandy would do it, but now we have a dedicated person.
Now you're growing. Well, I want to talk about hiring, but before that, on the pitch deck, you said you have someone from Antler who helps you with the story. Do you lead with the story? Is the story the most important thing when raising a seed round? Or do you lead with numbers, growth rate, retention?
Yeah.
How do you mix that up? And what do you think is the most important slide in your pitch deck?
I think the story is super important. We start with that. That's something that we learned from Robbie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I personally used to be more about the idea, the numbers.
Yeah.
But they need to like you first, because they are at seed round. They're gonna work with you for like a really long time, probably a decade. So that's the first one. And in terms of the most important deck, the most important slide, I think definitely the traction slide is very important. I think that's the most important one. And then afterwards, the team.
Yeah.
Team slide, very important.
Talking about team, how many people are you now? What are their roles? How are you as a leader, as a boss?
Yeah.
What advice do you have in terms of hiring and then leading a team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now we are about 10 people. We have
full-time?
Full-time,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And we have, most of the team is in Austin. We have someone we just added in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of hiring, so skill is very important, but number one, we learned the hard way that it's also important there's the right culture fit, like even in terms of professionalism or how we look at our jobs is very important, and how we look at
they have to be sports enthusiasts.
They have to like like the space, and they also have to culturally understand the startup, that in startup space you need to make pivots, you need to kind of reevaluate things, you need to be almost relentless in how you look at the metrics and how you look at this didn't work, let's try this, or this worked, or this may work, let's put all the resources there. So it's so fast paced that every week is different, and that needs a certain type of people to do that. For a lot of people it's interesting, for some people they need more like structure, so that's a different kind of so that's on that. And then about leadership, I think I try not to take things very seriously. So in terms of, it says we don't establish hierarchy very much. There's a decision maker, so if it comes to that, I make the decision. We always have debates, but whenever the decision is made, we go with that. So I think that the decision making is important, that someone has the authority, but we try to not to establish that kind of a hierarchy, so that it's a job, but we also have fun and we celebrate the small victories, because it's a lot of, like for instance, Priscilla was hustling for one more follower every day. So for us to celebrate when we get 500, when we have like 20,000 followers, celebrate that small victories, because we have so much other battles in front of us. So really doing based on that. And I also believe in, if you need to keep pushing someone to do something at the startup stage, it's better not to work with them. So just to make those decisions also fast. And we are very lucky now, because every single person is very passionate, very dedicated. They're just good people. They have good hearts. So I think that's very important.
Good heart, good brains, good work ethic.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's perfect combination. Have you fired anyone yet?
In general or in Sweatpals?
In Sweatpals.
In Sweatpals, I wouldn't say we fired. I would say we stopped working with some people. Because I think there was the cultural fit weren't there in some instances, and we are also learning who we want. Like for instance, in my previous company, I also was a founder there. After 5-6 years, we know exactly the DNA of people we wanted, but in Sweatpals we are still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point we have figured it out to a good point, to a certain extent. But sometimes until you get that wrong kind of addition, you wouldn't know, oh, this is something, it's a red line for us. If someone has that kind of an attitude, then it's a no, you know. So that's something I think comes with making mistakes.
Yeah.
And then
Moving fast.
moving fast, because if you also don't move fast, it's like a breakup. When a relationship is over, if you don't break up, then you are kind of wasting everyone's time and mental energy. And
Yeah. It never
Yeah.
works when you keep getting back together.
yeah, exactly.
Just,
Yeah.
it's done. Move
Yeah,
on.
Just move on. Block each other everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So you lived in several countries. You come from Iran. You lived in Turkey, in Istanbul. How does America compare to those countries in terms of its approach to sports and athletics? Would you say that Americans are on average lazier? Would you say, like, how do we incentivize them more to get out, meet new people, exercise?
So in Tehran that I grew up, we always played soccer in the streets. And
Yeah.
it was very, I think, super low barrier to entry. We just had 2 stones, and that was the goal, and then the goalie or whatever. And then so that was super fun. I think America is definitely, like, there is a fitness crusade almost, like everyone's working out. I think that's very different from places I've lived, where fitness is part of their lives, but it's not to this extent. I feel like here is like it's like so embedded in the culture, where everyone's, or maybe it's people that are around me that I feel
But would
that
you
way.
say fitness is fun for people? Because as you said, soccer was your pastime. It was fun, you made friends. I feel like in American culture, fitness is more about having a perfect body, right? Like working on your body, going to the gym, looking good. It's not about the joy of actually working out and making friendships.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't think of that before. Like comparing different countries.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We never thought about, even in Istanbul, the short time that I was there, we weren't thinking about too much about is the abs is gonna look good here, or
Or
if
like
I do-
competition
yeah,
even.
yeah, or even competition.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I see soccer groups or like pickleball or different groups that are just getting together, having fun. So I think it is a little more serious here in terms of how people view fitness. Yeah, I think people take it more seriously, for sure, for the physical aspect too. I agree. But hopefully we can make it more fun with Sweatpals.
Because when I go on social media, I run. That's what I do. You said you can't run. Running, decreases your muscle mass and it doesn't help with weight loss. And then you get all these like lists of why you shouldn't run. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
If I'm
Just wanna
supposed to
have
be
fun.
fat or skinny, full of muscle or not, it's fun for me. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. It makes me feel good. And I don't care as much what effect it has on my body. Like, of course, exercise is good for you, but I don't care if I'm gonna have big arms or big ass or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I just like the running.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's I think I agree. I think on social media there is more space for like people that are view fitness more seriously, that are
Yeah.
taking up more space.
Yeah.
But I see it on Sweatpals all the time too, groups that are just getting together, having fun. They don't necessarily care about that physical aspect as much.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone cares about. But I think they just don't take that space on social media. I think they still are around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we are nearing the end of this conversation. What advice would you have for founders that are just getting started, founders that are going through Antler now or have gone through Antler recently? What would you have done differently, perhaps, in your early stages?
I think I would say not jumping to build the product super fast and just taking as much time as needed in validating the idea, taking that validation very seriously, taking the no's very seriously, like even putting people in a position to challenge us in terms of the idea, because at the beginning we get so excited about the idea.
Yeah.
We think it's the best thing. And at the beginning, it's just so important to have people that are challenging that idea. and also figuring out where the users are and being there. Like if the users are, let's say we are building an app and the users are always in the bar, so I think we should go be in the bar all the time and just talk to the users. And that's just so, I think, underestimated, because it's going to make the whole difference. And in terms of Andler, I think just building relationship with the people in the cohort, because even if you don't get the investment, they can be your support system, because no one understands the journey of a founder unless you're a founder. It's very lonely path. Very painful, very lonely, very painful. You are the one that everyone blames. It's it's kind of the worst job, because you always have to be where there is a problem. If something's working, you don't need to be there. That's where the other people kind of need to be there. And so no one understands it. No one understands it unless you are a founder or you are running the business. So that support system is very underestimated. So building that, and also Antler specifically building relationship with the mentors there, before the program ends, so you understand their mindset, because they're gonna vote for the investment, and having a plan to address, because let's say this person, he cares about the monetization aspect, so I should have a slide for that. So these are kind of things specific to Antler. But I think I was a second-time founder, so I think I was a little more arrogant when I started. But that also will cost you money and time, and then also having no ego. Because at the beginning I was like, I was CTO before. I felt like I was somebody in my previous company, but in this one I had to start over again. So I had to get used to hearing no, or hearing like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So kind of checking the ego at the door, and just whatever you've done before, it doesn't matter. It's a complete new thing. It doesn't apply. You have to learn everything new.
I think few people talk about the humiliation that comes with founding a company. Or the fact that you have to be in a way annoying. Right? You have to get out there and speak with customers and keep annoying them, ask questions. And it's humiliating because, your friends may be more successful than you. They may have stable jobs in like finance or large tech companies, and you're there like putting up posters, in a club. It's a humiliating experience.
You have to be okay hearing no, hearing no, and even be energized by it. But definitely, so many people say it's a mistake, or why would you do this? I think that's just something you have to expect going in, and hearing no is definitely takes a toll on the ego. But I think I got to, at one point I was like, especially in fundraising, you hear like 100 no's, and then the 101 is yes, and then all of a sudden you're a genius and everything's great. And but also not losing faith. That's very hard. You have to have so much determination that you are like this person who is very successful and has invested in 1,000 companies. They don't know what they're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. So that's also, you need to have that conviction.
That's true. Certainty, conviction is important when pitching. All right. Well,
awesome.
Thank you so much for coming here, and I hope we'll play pickleball soon.
Definitely. We have so many events every day.
Check out, what's your website? Where can people find you?
Sweatpals.com, and Instagram Sweatpals app, and TikTok Sweatpals. But definitely Instagram Sweatpals app, that's the best way. And on Apple Store or Android Sweatpals. And give us a 5-star review, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.